Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do every Thursday and Sunday evening just for our own amusement. So for all you Audie fans, he's back in the front window staring out at the snow because there's almost no snow left in my yard. So he has to stare at the neighbor's yard across the street because that's where there is some snow left. I feel sorry for him. He doesn't particularly like being in the snow, but he loves looking at it. So, hey. Yellow. Obviously, yellow. Finally, I've got a piece of yellow that is readily identifiable from a great distance. And our yellow is for Catherine, for Lex's mom, for everyone who is coping with cancer. We are sending out our very best wishes to you. Now, on to the stuff in the video. Nutmeg has been rather busy lately and has, as usual, when there are cameras around, drag the sock puppet along with her. So we are going to talk about the number one item on Nutmeg's current agenda when we come back after the intro, and that will be in 22 seconds, just enough time to grab a cup of coffee. So, California is on fire again. I have to say, I am not a fan of California. No offense to all of our viewers from California. I like every Californian I've ever met, but I don't like the state, primarily because every time I have been out there, it has either been on fire or the fires have just been put out. So, am I surprised that it's burning to the ground again? Heavens, no. That is the only taste of California, so to speak, that I have ever personally experienced. But obviously, I feel horrible for everybody going through this. And my particular concern is the wildlife and the number of pets that may have been lost or displaced in all of this. So I am currently looking around for charities that are specifically dealing with animals, mostly because these are the little critters that tend to get forgotten in the shuffle. But because we've got a disaster, and because that disaster is generating a lot of free headlines, Nutmeg and the sock puppet naturally had to show up and pretend they were somehow involved in the rescue efforts. Now, I cannot find anything they have done, and I have looked at videos, I have looked at photos. It does not seem they were doing anything of actual value for anyone, just showing up. They do claim that through their Archie Wealth charity and through partnerships with other charities, they are providing for relief. But where are the receipts? That's just my question. I don't believe anything they say, and I certainly don't believe anything they are putting out there as evidence of their humanitarian activities, mostly because they've lied so many times about so many things. If Archie Well really is giving money to the rescue effort, how about you pony up the receipts? Open the Archie Well books so we can all see exactly how much of other people's money. Remember, Archie Well money is donated by other people, not a dime out of their own pockets. So let's see how much of other people's money you are contributing. By the way, Audie is back with me now. So, yes, he heard that he heard that I was filming, so he has to photobomb. That was it's so on brand for these two to simply show up when there is a disaster with a film crew, get their pictures taken. The only thing I can see that Nutmeg did for anybody was running around hugging people, and I cannot imagine that even Californians are crazy about being hugged by a stranger, and Californians will usually tolerate being hugged by just about anyone. So yeah, kind of weird, but that's it. It was just another headline grab, the same as they have done so many times before. Okay, all right, so many times before, and of course Uvalde is the one that comes to everyone's mind. A terrible disaster, and they just had to get their share of the headlines. The truth of the matter is, if they really wanted to do something, all they have to do is write a check. It takes 3 minutes to write a check, and that's even for the sock puppet. And I do question whether or not he's fully literate. That's why I'm giving him 3 minutes. They did say that they are opening their home to friends who have been displaced in the fires. Really? Well, according to the media, their friends are people like Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King and Serena Williams and Ellen DeGeneres and Priyanka Chopra. People I would strongly suspect have no trouble putting a roof over their own heads. And as for the sock puppet's friends, we're talking about his polo buddies. And again, do we really think they are in danger of being left living in their cars because of a fire? No, I don't think so. So it's nothing but talk. It's all, once again, performative, throwing out a story for the media, for the cameras, and nothing to back it up. Absolutely nothing. We don't even have pictures of them delivering 2 meals to shut-ins as we had back in the COVID days when they were claiming to help out with that effort, and apparently went out for 20 minutes and delivered a couple of meals. No. I have a tremendous amount of respect for anyone who is actually volunteering to do something, anything, but these two are not. They are simply taking the credit for it. Sorry about that brief interruption. I had to adjust Audie's camera adjustment. I think he sees himself as a videographer because whenever he has the opportunity to readjust my camera angle, he takes it. What can I say? Perhaps I should rent him out to Hollywood. He can fix their movies. All right. We are still dealing with the ongoing dialogue about Nutmeg's Netflix series, With Love, Meghan. And at this point, what we're seeing is people railing back against the backlash. Now, in general, I don't take this too seriously because this is just another form of rage bait. And for those of you not familiar with rage bait, that's when people expound on controversial topics or throw out controversial and emotion-generating views on a subject just to get clicks and likes and shares and whatever on their videos or Instagram posts, etc. And what we're seeing a lot of is people coming out in defense of Nutmeg. Now, I do expect that many of these people have simply been, paid one way or another by Nutmeg's PR people, but I think also others are doing it because they know the overwhelming majority of comments have been extremely negative, and taking an opposing view, coming out in defense of Nutmeg, is going to get them those rage bait clicks. Nevertheless, I have a good one for you. It is a short article. It came out in Entertainment Weekly, and it's like 2 minutes. So let's take a look at the article, and then we will talk about it. The View hosts debate whether Meghan Markle's new Netflix series is tone-deaf or aspirational. Meghan Markle's new series, With Love, Meghan, hits Netflix this month, making a return to television for the former Suits star. But the lifestyle series has the hosts of The View a bit split. In Saturday's inaugural episode of The Weekend View, the women were divided almost down the middle as they discussed Markle getting trolled online for the series. For host Sunny Hostin, the hate that Markle is facing stems simply from people wanting to hate on her specifically. Quote, when Martha Stewart first started doing this, no one was saying all these things, Hostin argued. This has more to do with the fact that people want to hate on Meghan Markle than, I think, this topic. But for host Alyssa Farah Griffin, the criticisms were more warranted, even if she is a fan of Markle herself. Respectfully, and I love Meghan Markle, but my favorite Meghan Markle is the one who is doing charitable works abroad, meeting with underprivileged kids, Farah Griffin said. This felt it's beautifully shot, but it just feels a bit maybe tone deaf. As Hostin questioned why Markle should be expected to be one-dimensional, Farah Griffin pressed on. I feel like people are struggling to make ends meet, she said. You're working around the clock. You're maybe microwaving a meal because you got to feed your kids, work, and get a bunch done. I would love to have, pretty pastries and honey and all that, but, I don't have time. At that, though, Joy Behar chimed in and actually changed Farah Griffin's mind just a bit by adding a little context. During the Depression, back in 1929, Hollywood only had movies about rich people, Behar explained, with Farah Griffin agreeing that it was aspirational at the time. Not just that, Behar retorted. People were sick of seeing themselves poverty-stricken, and they wanted to see how rich people do it. So sometimes it works to see somebody who's married to a prince, who's beautiful, who knows how to garden and make inaudible. Farah Griffin conceded that it could be seen as aspirational, but host Sarah Haynes still felt the series, based on just the trailer, lacks a certain authenticity. You can watch the full Weekend View in the video above. So, as you can see, it was a very short little article, but it raised a couple of interesting issues. And the first one I want to attack is this whole nonsense that the show is aspirational. Aspirational means something that pertains to what we envy, what we want, what we desire, whether it is a material possession, a skill that we wish to acquire. It is moving toward our better selves, so to speak. We aspire to it. I don't know anyone who aspires to Nutmeg's lifestyle. I truly don't. I imagine her fan base, small though it may be, does aspire to her lifestyle. But for most of the rest of the world, her lifestyle is a lifestyle of absolute unmitigated failure. She was a member of the British royal family, and she just kicked it to the curb. She doesn't even have relations with her own family anymore. This is not anything that people consider to be worthy of envy. We are not aspiring to this. And as one of the commenters on, and I believe this comment was from one of the news articles, this show is not her house, not her recipes, not her cooking, not her garden, etc., etc. This is a complete performance. We need not to lose sight of the fact that this woman was an actress, Now, granted, Oscars were not flowing in her direction, but she was still an actress. Everything for her is a performance. This is a performance. She is pretending to be this domestic goddess, this, trad wife in the flowing dress, etc., etc. This is not who she is. We know this. But then again, we don't know who she actually is. So I have to say, maybe there is a bit of this in there somewhere. I don't know. No one can know because she is so completely inauthentic. How are we going to be able to tell? Regardless. Would anyone look at this as aspirational? This is the life you want? I don't think so. Maybe in the 1950s and 60s, yes, there were probably a lot of people, the majority of women, I would say, would aspire to this sort of lifestyle. Is that something people aspire to today? Probably not. Like, seriously, probably not. Who wants to be dancing around their home in flowery tea dresses, making brownies? It just doesn't seem appealing on any level to a 21st century woman. Is it tone deaf? Well, yes. But I don't even think that should be part of the discussion, because that is a truism. And a truism is a statement that is so blatantly obvious, it just can't be denied. So, yeah, truism. Of course it's tone deaf. It's insanely tone deaf. People are facing economic challenges. We have more children being raised outside of the nuclear family than within the nuclear family these days. Is how many trad wives are out there? How many women are free from the necessity of working to support their families and can therefore be waltzing around the garden and just picking the strawberries? That's just not realistic anymore. So tone deaf, yeah, of course, beyond tone deaf. I think the biggest argument to be made about this show is the complete lack of authenticity, and that was only raised toward the very end of the article. It is absolutely inauthentic. There's just nothing more you can say about it. This is not Nutmeg's home, we know that. These are not Nutmeg's recipes, we know that. Did Nutmeg even cook them? Well, probably not. Are these people on the set with her even her friends? Your guess is as good as mine. But I will say this, if they're her friends today, the odds of them still being her friends this time next year are very small, because history has shown us that. That is the argument, that it is pretending to be somebody's real life. This is supposed to be a reality show, a glimpse into her life that is entirely scripted, entirely set up, entirely just created for the purpose of a television show. And that is the big thing, that, at least for me, that it is utterly inauthentic. And even from something as insignificant as the trailer, I feel lied to. I feel this is even phonier than something like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Oh, and as for the comments about how we turn to aspirational programming as we had in the Great Depression, going to movies, watching movies about rich people. Let me just say there were plenty of movies that came out in the 20s and 30s that did not feature rich, glamorous people living their lives on rich, glamorous movie sets. No, they're mistaken about that, and clearly their ignorance is showing. The fact of the matter is, in the Great Depression, and let's not lose sight of the fact that we're talking about a period of time that was almost 100 years ago. We are no longer that unsophisticated audience we were when things like cinema were just a few years old and television wasn't even in people's homes then. So let's just keep that in mind. The fact is, it was escapism. People wanted to get out of their dismal lives and look at a fantasy for an hour or two. That was what was going on. This was not aspirational to them. Anybody who thinks that a factory worker was going into the movies saying to themselves, well, yeah, I can do that. I can provide that life for my family. No, of course not. It so undersells the sense of the movie-going public worldwide, not just here in the US, but in Europe, in Asia, everywhere. Undersells the sense of these people because, of course, they knew that was never going to be something they would achieve. They went in for the same reason that subsequent generations would watch Star Wars or Raiders of the Lost Ark or whatever. You know, name your own sort of pseudo-science fiction fantasy show. It was escapism. Escape from reality for a little bit. That's all. I think that the problems with the show, the reason it's not going to do well, is because it is a scripted show. It has been carefully set up, carefully filmed, everything. The recipes, the cooking has probably all been done 100 times before the cameras even started rolling. And yet it is being presented as a day in the life. Come on. No. And that's why people are going to reject it, because people don't like being lied to. And that's the problem. Not aspirational versus tone deaf. The dichotomy here is honest versus deceptive, disingenuous. That is the problem. That is Nutmeg's problem in a nutmeg shell. She is disingenuous. She's a fake. She's a phony. Nothing rings true. And we've all caught on to it. So we're just not drinking the Kool-Aid anymore. And just because some media outlets want to frame the dialogue in another context does not mean we should buy into that. So, is it aspirational or tone deaf? Who cares? That's not the real issue. The real issue is it real? Or is this a performance? And I would say we all know the answer to that. All right, I think we're going to break off a little early today. To tell you the truth, I'm not even sure how long I've been filming, so we could be breaking off a little late for all I know. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. As always, I am very interested in your thoughts on this because I'm giving you just my thoughts. This is my thoughts and feelings about this, and I really want to hear yours. Do you think I'm off the mark? Let me know. All right, slideshow on the way out. I hope to see you all next time, and in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.